Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today's live. And today we have a very special session, and I have a special guest. Thank you for joining, and I do appreciate your support. And you know that we do this live every Friday from Time Research and Innovation, and as well as GenZ Marketing Agency. So today we are doing live with GenZ Marketing Agency, and we will talk about sustainability for business growth and merchandise. We have a special guest, so if you wanted to ask us any question, feel free to ask us through the comment box, through LinkedIn. And if you wanted to ask us questions from any other media, YouTube, Facebook, you can also ask us questions, and we will receive those questions, and we will discuss it with our guest. So I just wanted to welcome our special guest speaker today, and she is Gillian Keartland. So thank you very much, Gillian, for joining today's webinar, and we appreciate your contribution.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to start with, Gillian, if you could introduce yourself. We know that about Vida Promotionals Limited, and we're going to be discussing, because our core topic today would be, as a business, we use lots of promotional materials, and we forgot about the sustainability. And I think you are the key person to lead us through how we can become sustainable when we develop our business. Because, we think about AI, and AI is the biggest polluter of the environment. But we embraced AI, and now we are thinking how we can make greener AI. So I think before we jump into that, we need to make our business sustainable, because if we cannot make our business sustainable, the future is dark. So if you could introduce yourself to our audience quite briefly, and then we will jump into the other questions.
Okay, no problem. Yes, thank you. And hi, everybody. Welcome to the session. So yes, Vida Promotions Limited, which is in the UK, was formed basically just during COVID, actually. I started a merchandise company, but I realized when I was starting it, because I have a 30-year history in South Africa of selling merchandise and having a company there, that I needed to have a USP and couldn't be just like every other merchandise company in the UK. So there's 2,467 other merchandise companies. And so the only way to actually set myself apart was, in fact, to actually sell sustainable merchandise, which is the future for all companies, all businesses. They have to actually sell that. It will actually come into law eventually that you need to actually sell sustainable merchandise and not the plastic merchandise. So that was the beginning of my journey. Yeah.
I'm muted. Okay. Thank you, Gillian. Thank you very much for your contribution. I know you are influencing businesses to become successful. So it is a great contribution, because when there are a lot of people, they do merchandise and a lot of business promotions. But one thing I can see that they have less understanding how they can become the business promotions and others sustainable. And it's great work you are doing. And I think it's the contribution you're making will transform the future. So one thing that I wanted to ask you, what role does sustainability play in driving business growth? Why we need sustainable business?
Well, obviously, in terms of the merchandise, it's really important that you're showcasing your company and your brand, and merchandise is the forefront of who you are. So when you are seeing clients or at an expo or sponsoring an event or something like that, it's your brand that's out there. And the story that you're telling is, how serious you are about sustainability, how you feel about the future, how you want to improve everything that's going on this planet, and make a contribution. So even something as simple as a plastic pen, which everybody has pens, and then you an expo, and the first thing you do is hand out a plastic pen. And that's immediately saying, well, I actually don't care about the environment. This is what I represent. So merchandise is the forefront of your business, and it's an inexpensive way to start on the correct path to sustainability. It's the first thing in your business that you should be addressing, and it's actually pretty easy to change. It's not as difficult as everybody thinks. And I think the biggest problem is that it's very easy to push that reorder button, that everybody wants to reorder the same that they did last week and last year, last month, instead of actually just sitting back and going, hang on, we need to look at a sustainable option. There has to be another way to actually purchase our merchandise.
Thank you. I think our viewers will learn some key information today, because I think yesterday or day before yesterday, I saw one advertisement. A coffee shop somewhere in England, they dropped all of their cups, and what they wanted to the clients to do, like, okay, if you wanted to buy anything, you have to bring your own cups, and that can't be a plastic cups. So, and they have all their plastic cups on their floor. So look how mess we are making the environment. I think that is a very clever thing to do, as
Yeah.
well as you have to have enough gut to do that. But
Yes.
plastic things is very cheap, and
Mm.
sustainable things is a little bit expensive than the plastic one.
Yes.
So my next connecting question would be to you: how do you balance it? Like, how do you promote it? Because more, the new businesses or old
Mm.
businesses, they wanted to cut the cost. So
Yes.
if they wanted to transfer to sustainability, they're
Mm.
a little bit extra cost, or maybe less cost. We don't know, because we have a stereotype that sustainability cost money.
Mm.
So do you have anything to let our audience know about it?
Yes, and I think that's a misconception that sustainable merchandise is more expensive. So yes, there are items that are more expensive. It depends how involved that item has been to actually make it. But for example, there's a product called wheat straw, which is it's basically the um, all of the materials that have been left from wheat, which are then manufactured with recycled plastic into pens. So it's all about the circular economy, that everything that we are using, like whether it's agricultural waste, even plastic waste, is being recycled and put back into the industry. And so if you were to look at that, it looks like a plastic pen. It's actually got like dots in it. So it actually looks like wheat in a way. And the price of that is exactly the same as what you would pay for a plastic pen. So there are alternatives, and a lot of them as well, even like, for example, recycled aluminium pens, or stainless steel pens, they have the marking on there that says that. And I think that's actually quite important, that it shows that as you're handing over that pen to your client, it'll say this has been recycled, this is made from recycled stainless steel or aluminium, and therefore they know that it's been around. So that, again, it's not going to cost you more to have that pen. It's going to cost the same as a aluminium pen. A recycled one is going to cost you the same as an aluminium pen.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a great information for us to grasp. And another thing, sometimes some people ask me, I recently joined a company called Green Threads, and we are working towards the digital product passports. You know that EU is legislating the DPP, and by 27, all the textiles and other materials they're going to be brought into EU from other countries, they
Yeah.
have to have a QR code on there. So with our projects, we are working to make textiles sustainable. So
Hmm.
the history of CO2 emissions and the life cycles and all other things has to be
Yes.
presented. So
Yes.
the government in the UK, you cannot use plastic straw anymore,
That's
and
right.
you cannot use plastic buckets or something
Single
like that
plastic.
on restaurants and others. So when government specifically prioritize banning stuff, people understand that and they do follow that, because unless they're going to be penalized. But in terms of our own initiatives, okay, what can be done more, rather than, okay, there is a legislation and I will follow that?
I think it's all about asking questions. So whoever you are sourcing your merchandise from, have a look at what they're doing, where are they sourcing, who are they, where's their supply chain coming from. Unfortunately, in the UK, a long time ago, they stopped manufacturing a lot of things. So,
Mhm.
so there is a lot of merchandise which isn't manufactured here. So, in terms of a footprint, obviously, it's actually would be better for it to be manufactured here, but it isn't. So, a lot of the stuff does come from Asia. And so, you think about, okay, the carbon footprint of that actually traveling all this way, but more and more, the bigger factories in Europe are actually manufacturing in Europe. So,
Mhm.
so they are actually saying, okay, this product was manufactured in Europe, which then actually makes it, a lot better. So it's all about asking the questions at the end of the day: is who you are using, where are they sourcing, where they're getting their products from, how are they processed, what certifications do they have, what traceability do the products have. I mean, most of them actually do come with like a specification sheet, which will
Mhm.
tell you, the journey of that product, of where it's actually come from. A lot of them, like for example, save loads, tons of water, the way that they processed. They don't use chemicals in them. There's various certifications that apply to the different products. So it's really about educating yourself on basically those certifications, and if the companies are following through with that.
Thank you, Gillian. We're gonna jump into our next questions. Before I jump into our next conversation, I just wanted to thank you all, the audience that have joined today and listening our conversation. And through your support, I'm doing this live from last 1 year, and we continually growing our conversation of business developments and marketing and all other things. So thank you very much. And if you wanted to ask us any question, please feel free to ask us through the comment box, and we will try to answer all of your questions you have. So Gillian, thank you as well for joining today. I'm Dr. Shah Siddiqui, and we have Gillian Keartland from the Vida product promotions. Uh, you know, uh, I just wanted to ask the core question now. Why did you come up with this sustainable idea? What motivated you to come up with this idea that, okay, we're going to be doing something for the sustainable future? Why you have done that?
I think because obviously sustainability, is out there, and we all have to do something. We all have to make a difference in this world. And being in this industry for 30 years, we actually have been one of the biggest offenders of plastic, of single-use plastic. If you think of all the plastic bottles at events, plastic bags at events, plastic pens, I mean, it's endless, and a lot of it's throwaway stuff. Doesn't, people just have one use and then they throw it away, and it's just a huge amount of waste. And
Mhm.
it was just actually on my conscience that we can't carry on like this. It has to change. And actually, here where I actually live is in the New Forest, in the UK, and we're surrounded by a beautiful forest and ponies and donkeys and everything. And I worry about plastic bags flying around and the donkeys eating them and then they dying. And we as humans, that's us, that we are the ones who are destroying this earth. So we have to take accountability now, and we have to change. And as I say, our industry knows that we have to change, and there's huge strides being made in terms of what we've been doing. And if I look at my competitors, they all are still selling plastic. They're selling as well sustainable merchandise, but also plastic, and the single-use plastic items as well. And so for me, I had to set myself aside, and I had to make a stand and say, I'm actually not going to sell it, as much as it's going to be hard, because I'm going to keep getting asked for it. And it's all about supply and demand, and I say to people, if you keep asking for plastic, then the factories will have to keep making it. You have to stop asking for non-sustainable merchandise, and then the factories will be forced to make only sustainable merchandise. So we as individuals and as companies have the power to change it all. We just have to change our behavior as to what we are actually asking for.
Thank you. That was a great explanation, Gillian. We have some of the questions, and I just wanted to ask you, Azama, thank you very much for sending this question to us. How can you effectively incorporate sustainability into your merchandise strategy?
Well, obviously it depends on the size of your company, but you will have, a procurement manager, I suppose, if it's a bigger company, or whoever's actually responsible for purchasing your merchandise. And they need to be tasked with finding alternatives to everything that you're actually doing. Yeah, it really is. And it's having about an open discussion with, because you obviously using companies already, but having the discussion with them and saying, listen, we want to show up in front of everyone that we actually have sustainability top of mind. And therefore I need you to quote, any quote that you send me through, it needs to be on products that are sustainable. So it is about going through everything. And actually, it's not even just about merchandise, it's within your whole company. It's everything you're doing. Look at your copiers, look at your print ink that you're actually using, the paper that you're using. And so it's not even just merchandise. In every single section of your office, you can look at everything. And when you're about to reorder, just go, hang on, is there a sustainable alternative to what we are ordering?
Thank you, Azama. I hope you have you had your answer. So we're going to be talking more into sustainability. Vida Promotions, you're working for from the pandemics, and what struggles have you been through to stay sustainable? Because I think there is a price to pay when you're thinking about only sustainable products. How hard it was for you?
Yeah, it has. Definitely, it has been a struggle, because that's it. It would be easy for me to just say, yes, I will take that order for 10,000 plastic bags. You know what I mean? You can do that, but I can't do that with my conscience. I can't actually do that. So it has been detrimental to my business by not taking those orders, but I have to stand by my beliefs and what my company stands for. This is what we said we're going to do, and this is the journey that we're going to go on. And I know long term, we will be ahead of the game, because all of the companies that have been around for 20 years here in the UK, they're finding it hard to change. They can't change because that's what they've been doing. That's their business model, and so now they suddenly have to. They can't just completely change everything they've ever done and what they've ever stood for. Yes, slowly but surely, they're also bringing in the sustainable merchandise, and hopefully in the future we will all only be selling that. So it's been a long, hard journey, and it's been hard trying to educate people. And the funny thing is that it's almost like, every time when I talk about sustainable merchandise, people think it's like some other type of merchandise, that it's something that they've never heard of before and everything, when it's just merchandise. It's the same merchandise that you buy every day. It's a pen, it's a notebook, it's a t-shirt, it's a cap, it's all of that merchandise, but you're just choosing the sustainable option, meaning the materials that it's made out of has actually been through a completely different process, is used from waste, or it's bamboo, or it's cork, or that type of thing. it's still professional. It's still the same merchandise that you would use, but it's just a sustainable option.
Thank you. I just have another questions based on your answer. We talk about reuse the plastics.
Yeah.
Okay, there are garments made for it, and a lot of other reusable things. They're transforming it. So when you use reuse materials like plastic, is it sustainable? That using it again and again, or we have to stop that? No, no plastics.
No, because you see, in talking about sustainable materials and sustainability, it doesn't mean that it's only now, say, for example, using bamboo because it's the fastest growing, like, product, and it's easily renewed and that type of thing. It can still be plastic. So the
Mhm,
whole thing is actually, I don't know if you've heard about the donut economy, and it's about the circular economy, is actually using products again and again. So it's either biodegradable, it's recyclable, it's recycled. It's, then I say the other ones that are made like bamboo and cork and that type of thing. So sustainable merchandise involves all sorts of processes that can be used and makes it sustainable. And instead of putting, the plastic back into landfill, it is then made into a recycled plastic, which is then normally, it's not just something made out of like recycled plastic. It will also have other elements in it which come, which will be like plant-based or something like that. So they actually mix together. And
mhm,
for example, plastic bottles, I mean, they are actually they like crushed into little bits, and then they put through a process. It's like melted, it's actually turned into yarn and then dyed and then made into garments. And
mhm,
the garments is the same garment that you would buy anywhere, like a polo shirt or anything. You won't think, oh, this that looks like a plastic shirt. It's still like a material that it's actually that comes out the same, but it's a mixture of products. So it's so that it's taking all of that waste. I mean, we actually produce a huge amount of waste in this world, and it just goes into landfill all the time and into the sea and everything. So I mean, you even see lots of products that are made from ocean waste. So all of the waste that they've picked up in the ocean, they actually bring that back. It also gets churned and made into products, gets made into furniture, all sorts of things.
mhm. Thank you, Gillian, because sometimes I can come across with these questions because if you're still using plastic, how it can be sustainable? Because most of the time, the normal audiences, they fail to understand the ecosystem, that how you can make products sustainable. Yes, you are still using the plastic, but making the waste in a different form. And
Yes.
thank you very much for assuring that to our audience. We have some other questions. I'm just going to share the next questions with you. So it is from Farooq Hussain. Thank you, Farooq, for sending this question to us. He said, how can business leverage sustainability to achieve long-term growth and competitive advantage?
Well, definitely, being in the forefront of what you do, it will give your business an advantage in terms of your clients and the companies wanting to deal with you. So definitely a lot of companies, they actually look at your whole sustainability ethos behind your company, and they are looking in terms of what you actually do, is whether they're actually going to do business with you. And long term, it's definitely going to be brought up again and again and again. And even now, I am starting to also get inquiries, and they're asking me, obviously they're seeing that it's being promoted sustainable merchandise, but they've been told that they have to actually source sustainable merchandise. And even if
Mhm,
it's via a third party, their clients are telling them is that we only want to deal with companies now who actually use sustainable merchandise, and what else do they do within their business. So it's definitely has to be front and center of what you're actually doing.
Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you, everyone. We are just getting some more questions, and we're going to be answering them with and let you know. Thank you for joining today's live webinar. I'm Dr. Shah Siddiqui, and we have Gillian Keartland, and we're going to be talking more on sustainability. You know that Gillian, she's working to make this world different and livable for future generations. And there are a lot of people among us. They are making this world sustainable. And I just had another questions from Shantanu, and we have a question before that, Christine. But I just wanted to ask these related questions because what strategies and action led to Vida Promotions Limited winning the Sustainable Business of the Year 2023 awards? Can you tell us a bit more about that? I think we need to know that.
Yes, yeah, it was basically a combination of strategies and actions that are dedicated towards sustainability. And some of the key initiatives that led to the recognition was so let me tell you, the sponsor of the award was the New Forest National Park. And obviously it's a big thing in this area about sustainability. And there was various companies who were put forward and nominated in different fields. So it wasn't all companies in my field. They were in different, like hotels, and how, what were they doing in terms of sustainability, et cetera, et cetera. So that's who we were up against, like different people. Some of the key initiatives that I did was the ethical sourcing and production. So we have emphasized that we made sure that our products, where they're coming from, we've investigated all of the supply chain. A lot of it comes from Europe, as to way that they actually, the products are selected. The environmental responsibility, they've had social audits, and they're ensuring no harm done to people and the environment during production. And also, we make sure that we didn't have any non-sustainable products within our brand. And in fact, one of the reasons when speaking to the judges afterwards about why we were chosen, it was because they felt that the impact that we could have was far greater than the other people who were actually nominated and were finalists. Because, obviously sustainable merchandise is everywhere, every business, even clubs, football clubs, soccer clubs, cricket clubs, everything like that. So our reach is that much greater. And that's what got us to that award. And I was also a speaker at the International Women's Day as well this year.
Congratulations, because sustainability, you have to pay a price if you are a business, because in relation with that, yes, we do work with businesses and big corporation. It's very easy for them to become sustainable because they have millions of funds to invest in. But when you talk about SMEs, and SMEs, they have limited funds and they wanted to tailor the cheap things, and that is not sustainable. And you cannot change their thinking in 1 or 2 days. It takes time. So I have another questions from Christine. Are sustainable products more expensive than their alternatives?
No, not at all. So that is said that earlier, that it's actually a misconception. At the end of the day, when I'm taking a brief from a client, that's how it actually starts. It starts with a brief. It's like, okay, so when is the event? Where is the event? What type of event is it? Who is the client? What is your budget? How many gifts do you actually need? And then, I can look at what's out there, all the sustainable products that are out there, and choose a product that fits their budget. So if you've got £1 to spend per gift, we find a sustainable gift that's actually worth £1. If you've got £10 to spend per gift, then we actually find the gift that actually suits that budget. So it doesn't, if there's anything that you can buy from less than £1 to obviously £20 or £30, there is so much merchandise out there. On my website alone, I've got over 500 products, and that is like a small percentage of what is actually available. It's just my website's just like a showroom that you can see what type of merchandise there is out there. And there's something for everybody. But, I have a better relationship with my clients where they don't need to go to my website. They just talk to me and say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. Can you just come back to me with ideas and everything? So I take that pain point away from them and get back to them with ideas. And actually, the SMEs, we did talk about that as well, is that they don't have budgets to do it. But I'm pleased to say that actually some of the clients that I'm now getting through are SMEs. And it's so exciting that they actually see the value in that. And I say to all of them that come on board now is be the leaders in your industry, be the first ones in your industry to say, no, you know what, I'm just a little company, but I'm actually going to start. I'm going to do the right thing. And then when they then giving that merchandise to their clients, obviously who are much bigger, they're going to go, oh, jeepers, I really like that. I've just had an absolute incident right now where yesterday one of my clients, in fact, today she was actually doing another workshop, and she ordered some bamboo pens and some bookmarkers with sticky notepads on there. And she said everyone commented. It was such a conversation point, at her stand about her merchandise. So, everyone was coming and said, oh, that's really nice. And then she phoned me up. She said, listen, I've given your name out to all these different people because they're so excited. They want to do the right thing, but they didn't realize there is something out there and it's very inexpensive, and she's a small company. It's a wills and trust company. So, so she's showing up then, like solicitors who are doing all of that stuff, and they're not using sustainable merchandise.
Thank you, Gillian. And I think, Christine, you got your answer. So it doesn't have to be expensive. If you wanted to go for expensive products, that's up to you. But you can also buy your product cost effective and others. So sustainability is not always that will cost you money. Is your thinking, and it's your way of saying thank you for the future. Because if you are not sustainable right now, you see the diverse effects now. Is somewhere is drought, somewhere is flooding, somewhere is too cold, somewhere is too hot. So we will not have a better future. Maybe the current situation. I don't know how many 100 years the world will survive, but if we do not take steps now, it will have less to live in. So thank you, Gillian, for your contribution to the world, and I hope you achieve more goals. In relation with achieving goals, there are some struggles, isn't it? Some barriers. Do you have anything to share with the audience that how they can overcome their barriers to become successful?
What barriers do you mean in terms of
in terms of embracing technology, in terms of embracing sustainability? So you are the front runner, and thank you for that. But those people, they are doing merchandise and they are not thinking about sustainability. How your efforts can prioritize their change of the culture?
I think I don't know if this is a way to help, but once you immerse yourself in the world of sustainability, so it's not just merchandise, it's any form of sustainability. Follow companies that are promoting merchandise. I mean, even for example, one wouldn't even think about this, but there is a whole move to do with golf and golf clubs and golf courses about how can they become more sustainable. And you think, well, gee, how can they, but there's actually so much that they can actually do, even to do with biodiversity and everything, on the golf courses, they can have, those, it's like those breeding farms for little insects, those insect houses and things like that, and have bees in certain areas, which then obviously, they grow certain plants and that type of thing. even in merchandise to do with golfing. You know, they actually bring out sustainable golf balls now. They're bringing out teas that are, instead of, you know, being made of plastic, they're made out of coffee waste. All the clothing in the pro shop can be changed to sustainable merchandise. When they're having golf days and giving out gifts, obviously changing the packaging that they're using. So there's lots to do with merchandise, but even just within, you know, the golf course, their whole watering system, the way that they use water, you know, having those water collection things that when it rains, they get that. So there's lots of, you know, conferences going on about that. How can we do better? How can we make this space that we have, which we're so grateful to have so much space as a golf course, but how can we also make it sustainable? So so there's just buy more into everything to do with sustainability. On LinkedIn, obviously you can follow like so many different organizations that are actually doing so much good. There's another organization where they called Event Cycle. And if you're having a big conference, like say the size of in the O2 or something like that, and a lot of times when it's an exhibition or something, you have all of the materials that are there. You know, you might have carpets made especially for that event or signage made for that event, and you can't use it again. So they come in and they take it from you, and then they actually repurpose it. Or it goes, for example, say carpeting would go to, like not a homeless place, but, you know, like Salvation Army, where they, you know, need it for, you know, a room or something like that. So it gets used again. So just involving yourself in those type of things, you know. And also, you know, Vida Promotions, we partnered up with Ecology, and that's really easy for any business to do. Is you can look at any organization where, you know, they are doing something to actually help the planet. And if you have a look at Ecology, it's incredible what they've done. So we, for example, we plant trees every single month. They go into all over the world. We plant trees, and we support 2 renewable energy projects a month. And what you do is it actually gets put onto the bottom of your website, a link to your forest basically, and anyone can go. You can click on mine, you can see what we're doing, and I can actually see every single tree, where it's been planted in the world, what its growth is, the projects that, you know, how they actually progressing. So, you know, again, you actually offsetting your own you know, your own carbon footprint by doing that. So even if you feel, gee, I can't really do anything in my business, I'm so small, even that, and honestly, it's as little, I think, as £5.95 a month to actually do that, to be able to plant trees and actually contribute to projects.
Thank you, Gillian. And thank you, everyone, for joining today's live webinar. I hope you're enjoying our talk. And if you wanted to contact me or Gillian, we can be reached through LinkedIn and all other social media. And if you wanted to talk to her, you can go to her website. The Vida Promotions website is easily accessible. And as she said, you can see all the good works she's doing. I think she is contributing greatly, and she's supporting businesses to be greener. And we have to support green technology. We have to support green initiatives, because without that, we cannot make the future brighter and more long-lasting lives. And thank you for your time today, Gillian. And we're going to be heading to the next segment. So before I head to the next segment, I just wanted to ask to our audience, if you please wanted to ask us any question, feel free to ask us through the comment box, and we will try to answer your questions. And this event is recorded. So if you wanted to share these events afterwards, you can share this with your connections, because the more you share sustainability information, the more success we will get, because we need more people to understand sustainability, and as well as work on sustainability, because there are huge knowledge gaps, Gillian, when I work with individual peoples, that it's like they don't understand that, okay, how they can become sustainable. They wanted to do it, but
Mm,
in terms of information, there isn't maybe right information there.
mm,
In terms of awareness, there isn't right awareness program from the government or local government. So,
mm,
and there is a shift now in the first world countries, but in the third world countries, or it's they still don't consider is as sustainable. And there is
mm,
excuse, one excuse that I come across most of the time, that first world countries, they have utilized and polluted the world, and why they are push keep pressure on the third world country to become sustainable. uh, do you have anything to share? Because why should they become sustainable? Or, as you informed earlier, that South Africa and UK, are there similar initiatives over there, or they are a little bit behind than the UK or EU or US?
Yeah, so actually, I was on a webinar with my South African company this week, my manufacturers there, and yes, South Africa are progressing with sustainable merchandise as well. One of my biggest clients there, they are starting to ask me now for sustainable merchandise, but in small bits. They're still asking for the same repeat orders. Can I have another 100 of those or another 1,000 of those, that type of thing. But it's definitely coming on their radar. And internally, not to do with merchandise, there is a lot of sustainable activity going on, because we do have to be greener in a lot of ways. But I'll definitely say I think it's all about a financial thing at the end of the day, because the first world countries have more money to actually invest into sustainability and sustainable options, of big projects and things like that, where third world countries don't. But it's not to say that it's not on the agenda. It's definitely on the agenda. And South Africa, we might think it's third world, but it's very first world in a lot of ways. There's actually lots of things that are more advanced than the UK, I have found, in some ways. The banking system is one of them. And so, there is a lot to be said for what is being done there. But in terms of merchandise, just a little bit behind us, I would say.
Thank you. And in relation to the other parts of the world, because I think you imported your products maybe from Far East
Mm,
and maybe other places.
yes.
So, do you consider a company they are more sustainable than others? How you select your sources?
Yes. So the companies that I actually use, the main factories are actually in Europe, but
Mhm.
and that's where all of the products get basically brought into, and that's where they're distributed from and branded and everything from there. So
Mhm.
they have very tight uh, regulations, if you can say that, in terms of who they actually are, who's manufacturing for them. And
Mhm.
all of those factories, they've got certifications of every kind that you can actually think of. And so that's really important, that even from the slavery point of view, from the products, where organic products, so that there's no chemicals being put into the products. All of that, they are
Mhm.
all traceable in terms of where those products are being manufactured, how it's being manufactured. And as you said earlier, actually, the one factory that I actually use, they do have a it's like it's almost like a QR code, but it isn't a QR code. There's like little things that are actually inserted into the products, where you can scan that, and it will actually bring up all the information of where that product first started and all the processes, and it will show
Mhm.
you. That there is no plastic be anywhere in that product, that it's been used in every single process. So it's about
Mhm.
that traceability of where it's actually come from. All that information is available, on certain products, depending where it's actually coming from and what it is. But in terms of all of the certifications, they are there with all of the products.
Thank you. Thank you, Gillian. We're having a nice conversation today, and I thank all you are listening our conversation. And as we request always, that please spread the word, because if you spread the word, someone from the community, they will inspire and they will start following and working with sustainability or anything else that we can cater for. So thank you, Gillian, for your work to the community, and
Thank you.
thank you all the audience that you are watching our live and you're going to be watching our lives later. In relation, that yes, we wanted to make the world sustainable. Do you get any support from the local government or the national governments, or you just have your own initiatives? Because I think it's going to be really tough for you if you do not receive support from the government. Uh,
No, there's no support from the government. You are out there on your own in terms of trying to get the message across. I think only if you were, if it was coming to the innovation side, that you were inventing a machine that could do something that would make a product, more sustainable or something like that. Obviously, there you would actually get investors and funders for something like that, but not in your everyday business where you're trying to strive to make it sustainable.
okay. Uh, So, in relation with the activities that the government is putting in place, um, how do you measure the shift of the community towards sustainable developments? Is there a gap over there, or we need more programs?
Sorry, just say that first bit a bit again. That you
You know
asked
that
me.
the government they are placing in different type of legislations. So in
Yes.
relation with those, do you think that people are progressing enough, or we need more awareness for people to become sustainable?
Yeah, I think, almost like tougher actions need to be taken, like, for example, the ones where we no longer use plastic straws, because
Mhm.
as long as it's not law, people are going to keep doing it, So I do think there the government could actually step in a lot more and have stricter rules about what can be used and what can't be used. Even just in normal recycling, for example, in your everyday life. I mean, that I'm not sure, obviously, all the places in the UK, but where we are, we can only recycle certain products here
Mhm.
because our local council doesn't have the machinery to actually be able to recycle it. So investment needs to be put into that, so that it makes it easier for an individual, a household, or even a company to say, okay, I want to do the right thing, but how can I do it? What do I do with this plastic, or what do I do with this waste? There
Mhm.
is nowhere to put it. How can we fix this? So there, I would definitely say that we need more investment into how to get rid of waste in a good way, and how it can be recycled. More initiatives out there.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it will be a very knowledgeable to our audience today that we have come up with this sustainable webinar, and I think they will influence. We can influence them to become more sustainable. And to the audience, you know that the EU DPP is coming 2027. So I'm engaged, as I informed earlier, with the company as a COO to tailor the methodology as well as build a system for sustainable ecosystem. Like, okay, uh, the textile industry. So when a textile is produced in a factory in Asia or somewhere else, we need to embed the ecosystem, and as well as all the information that how much water is uses, energy, and a lot of other things, and all as well as CO2 emissions. So in that way, in the future, people will know if they're going to be using a particular product, like, okay, this CO2 emission is more. And people are thinking like, okay, wardrobe, like, okay, CO2 cost green wardrobe, I would say. Like, okay,
Mm,
you have, or green cupboard, I would say that, okay, you have all the products and you can scan the QR code to know how greener you are. So
yes.
technology will play a vital role in the future,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we need to make it happen,
Mm,
isn't it? Uh,
yes.
if we cannot make it happen, there will be lagging in different areas. So my next question would be to you. You know that 2027, the DPP is coming. Do you think that businesses, they are ready to change their ecosystem by then, and how quick they need to change themselves?
Sure. 2027. I don't know. Hey, I don't think. I think it's that's not a lot of time for people to actually change. I mean, it seems like it's a long way away, but it's actually not, because
Mhm.
obviously the bigger the business, there's a lot more that change that actually has to be made. Um, in various things, like for example, I was just thinking now about Amazon and packaging and things like that. Companies are making an effort in ways where that we can see that as a consumer, by like not using the plastic packaging tape anymore. Obviously the boxes are, so it's not like those plastic bags, it's the boxes. Even bubble wraps not being used. There's been an alternative made for that, where it's actually made out of paper, and it's a special way which actually does make it like plump up like bubble wrap.
Mhm.
So there's all sorts of ways, that can actually help within a company. But it's almost like you have to tackle like each department at a time and each section at a time and see, what you can change. But in a bigger company, obviously you've got to get sustainability managers in, and they have to put a process in place for how are they going to change it, and can they change it in that time. Obviously it's difficult for me to give an answer to that, because some people, some companies have got more money than others to be able to put those processes in place and would make that deadline.
Thank you for your honest answer, because I think there isn't enough time. I do agree with you. You are prioritizing sustainable growth and supporting businesses to become sustainable. And your efforts will support someone else to become sustainable. And if they do not do it now, in 2027, you cannot import things to the
Yes.
EU if you are not sustainable, if you do not have sustainability embedded to your product. So, to all of our viewers, please be aware that you have to become sustainable if you bring in goods from the outside of EU to EU, because the legislation is coming, and by 2027 the legislation will be there, and you have to become sustainable if you are bringing goods, specifically anything related to textile and other categories. You can see this information to the EU sustainability goals, and you will get benefited from there. And we nearly end of our session, Gillian. It was great to talk to you, and I thank all the questions that you have asked to us. And we will try to bring more knowledgeable, sustainable program in the future, because we need more awareness to the community as well as businesses. So thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. At the end, I ask our special guest to give some takeaways to the audience. So do you have any takeaways for the audience if they wanted to spread the words and wanted to become sustainable?
Yes, I mean, obviously, they're welcome to get hold of me, directly, and I can sort of give them a list of ideas of what they could do within their companies to start making a difference. It might be easier if they've actually just got a list and that they can start sort of working through that. I don't know if that would help.
Thank you. Any key takeaways, like how they can think about become sustainable?
Yeah, so I think obviously the main thing, as I say, is to actually just go through everything that you have in your business in terms of merchandise, and whoever you are currently dealing with as your merchandise supplier, you need to actually go one by one of everything that you're actually using within the business and ask them, please, can you actually give me a sustainable option? And everything, even just not your merchandise, whatever you're doing, and like, for example, in terms of packaging, how many times, even just from ordering, for example, anything online, and that is, instead of ordering one item every single day, actually try and combine it so that, the driver's only coming there once and not every single day, because the emissions that he's using up is actually a lot. So it's your everyday life. How can I make things different? It's about, I always just say, stop and think. Is there another way? Is there a sustainable option to what I'm actually doing, whether it's merchandise or your home or anywhere in your business, whatever? Just think, is there a sustainable option?
Thank you, Gillian. I think the last remark is that you just said that you need to think, because before you we sometimes we get carried away, that okay, this is cheap, and we are spending a lot. But if you think about the future, um, we need to think about clever decision now, isn't it? So, okay, what you wanted to have and what you wanted to go, that if we don't sustainable, there's also diverse effects on our health, isn't it? Because
Mm,
there is pollution there. If you order something quite frequently, the car will come, and that car might not be sustainable, or electric vehicles that
mm,
might be polluting your local area, and that is not good. You know that there are micro plastics in water and food and a lot of other things. So if you do not become sustainable, that also
mm,
harming you, because you don't know the farm in your area, the plastic you are using, um, it is polluting them, and you're going to be grasping those, and they will be in your blood. So I think
and
it's a collective work. Yes, please.
Yeah, yeah, and I was just going to say, and also I would encourage people to actually join initiatives in your area. Litter picking. Getting rid of the plastic in your area. There's lots of initiatives in every little town. Just even if it's just one that you join, just do your bit. We all have to take accountability for what's going on. There's only one Earth. There's only one Earth. Like, we only have one life. We have one Earth, and we have to actually look after this Earth. So it's up to us as individuals. We can't just say the government has to do this and this one has to do that. We all have to take accountability for this Earth and for making it a better place.
Yes, is our world. It doesn't matter we're in the first world country or in the third world country. The world is only one, isn't it? If we
Mm,
have diverse effects in the first world country, it will also go to the third world country, because
yeah,
the weather, it doesn't stay in the same, like, okay, well, we are in the third world country, and the weather will not transform to the other parts of the world. You can see that uh, droughts, floods, and a lot of other things happening everywhere. So you cannot bind the weather with a specific location, that okay, we don't want it to do it, let them do it. We all have to do it, because when you become sustainable, all the world has to become sustainable. I can remember, I think 20 years back, in Bangladesh, before I came here in the UK, that government banned polythene bags.
yeah,
In the UK, I saw just few years back that they banned polythene bags, and it's still you can buy polythene bags. And I
yeah,
assume that we have to say no to polythene, because if you're going shopping, even if you pay for the polythene, it's reduced a lot, but still you're using polythene. So
yes,
we have to say no to
yes,
polythene, that okay, they don't bring, because it's polluting our worlds, it's polluting the environment. So
yeah.
thank you everyone for joining today's live. I just wanted to say last remarks, if you have any, to the audience.
No, well, I just want to say, obviously, thank you for joining us. And I hope that you have learned a little bit about sustainable merchandise, that it's not such a scary name and word to everybody. It's like, what is sustainable merchandise? It's exactly the same as what you've always ordered and used, but it's just much better for the planet. So I hope that's your takeaway, and that it's not a difficult journey to go down. It's really easy just to make changes one little pen at a time.
Thank you. Thank you, Gillian, for your time today and your contribution to the channel. Please stay on the line. We are just finished our time. I will say you bye-bye. Before I say you bye-bye, I just wanted to say bye-bye to the audience, and we appreciate your contribution. So thank you, everyone, for joining today's live webinar. And I'm Dr. Shah Siddiqui from GenZ Marketing. And we have today tried to contribute to sustainable growth and sustainable merchandise. If you're thinking to grow the economy, if you're thinking to have a sustainable future, I think you need to shift towards no plastics or towards sustainability. It doesn't matter if it's technology, it is your merchandise, it is your other things, or vehicle, or driving somewhere. We have to be sustainable and think about the future, because if you don't think about the future, there will be a lot of hassles. And you know that the world is polluting every day. We know diverse effects in the UK, elsewhere, and we can stop that if you think it now. So thank you for joining today's live. I will welcome you next week with another of my lives. You know that I do regular webinars, and please stay tuned to the channel and my profile. You will see all the lives that we're doing, and we will bring Gillian next another event to talk about more about sustainability. Until then, thank you and bye-bye.